Hi guys, so I have a hypermobility spectrum disorder. My joint's sublux, which is a partial dislocation, and I also have one joint which fully dislocates, but that is a lot better than it used to be. Over time, working with my physio, I've found 7 tips that have really helped me prevent and manage my dislocations and my subluxations, so hopefully they can help you too. The first tip I call the brace rule. And basically you need to be careful with how much you use your braces or your supports, because if you use them too little then you will injure yourself by dislocating your wrists and so worsen the joints. But if you wear them too much then you will weaken the muscles and so worsen your joints again. So it's all about finding the balance. As long as you're only using your braces when necessary, then they should really help. Tip number 2 is to do with sleeping. For a lot of people, and certainly myself, the biggest and worst dislocations happen at night because the muscles relax, so everything's loose and can come out of place. So a way to minimise and prevent this happening is to surround your worst joints with pillows. So for me it's my right knee, so I sleep with a pillow between my knees. If it's your shoulders, you can get a V-shaped pillow that will hold you in place. You just want to try and immobilise that joint as much as you can, and that should really help. Tip number 3 is to do low impact exercises. Of course this depends on the severity of your condition. You might not be able to do them, but if you can, things like swimming or recumbent bicycle are very low impact. There's not too much force involved in those things, especially the recumbent bike is a lot gentler on your joints than say going on a treadmill. So if you can, you could try walking in water or swimming if you can. Also, the water helps support you, and so that is often a good way to start. Those 2 things are also POTS friendly, so if you have POTS, that would be a lot better on you than say trying to walk or something like that. The bike you're sitting down, and the swimming you have the water resistance, and that helps with POTS and blood vessels and things. For tip number 4, I've made a list of some practical things. So this can help you be more independent, and that's buying pre-chopped fruit and vegetables. So when you're cooking, you don't have to put force into chopping, just buy them pre-cut. Even garlic and onion you can get pre-chopped nowadays. Also, instead of trying to pull apart packets, because that uses quite a lot of force, just use a scissor and cut them open. When it comes to washing and drying up, which everyone hates, but it's especially hard when you have subluxing and dislocating hands and wrists, you can soak your dishes just in the sink and then they will be a lot easier to just rinse off. You won't have to scrub them and then leave them on a drying rack, and you don't have to dry them, you can just put them away when they're dried. And the last one is, if you can't open your pills or your medication, if you use a pill box, then you could ask someone to do that once, and instead of asking someone every time, multiple times a day, they could just do it all once a week, and then they would have only had to help you once instead of all of those times. 5 is if it happens and you haven't been able to prevent it, you need to stay calm. When this was told to me, I was just like, I can't stay calm when it happens. Like I said, the joint that I have that dislocates fully is just horrific, the pain it sends me into. But staying calm does physically help your body. It stops the muscles relaxing, and that means they will go back into place easier. And then there are 6 steps that you can take to try and get that joint back in place, and they are: breathe, use painkillers, support the joint, try heat, use distractions, and gentle massage. I'm going to leave a link about that in the description because I found that one online, so you might find it helpful to read more in depth about that. But I have to say, for me, when it happens, I'm just rolling around in pain. But if you can, it'd be great if you could follow those steps. I was just editing this and wanted to add that of course you can go to A&E at any time. This is more so if it's frequent dislocations and subluxations that are happening all the time. You'd probably want to manage them at home in those cases, but I thought I would include this. I've just found out when is best to go to the hospital, and you should go to the hospital if the limb starts to change colour due to a lack of blood supply, if your limb goes completely numb, or if you've tried those 6 steps, have waited a reasonable amount of time and are still desperately struggling. So I hope those steps work for you, especially if this is something that's happening a lot. But if you can't get it back in within a reasonable amount of time, you're in severe pain, please go to the hospital and don't just rely on that. It might be that a hospital trip is the only way forward, or if the limb goes numb, or if it starts to get discoloured, you need to go to the hospital. That's all I wanted to say, so I'll get back to the tips. 6 is another preventative one, and if you have a couple of joints that you know are especially unstable, it can be helpful to massage the muscles around that joint, and that does really help. You will find that the muscles around the joint that dislocates might be quite tight, and as you're massaging it you will almost feel it loosen, and that's a good thing. So massage the muscles around the joint. Number 7 is that you don't have to go through this alone. You can go to your doctor and ask to be referred to several people. Pain management is often a really big one and a really helpful one, as well as physiotherapy. If you're not seeing someone at the moment and you're experiencing these dislocations and subluxations, there are things that can be done, so I don't want you to feel helpless. So pain management team, physiotherapist, occupational therapist, and often if you're at university and work, there are things that can be done within that, so don't be afraid to ask for help or to look for help. Another thing that's really helpful are support groups online. Facebook has some really good ones. I'm part of some for a different condition and I've just found it so helpful. So sometimes just knowing that you're not alone is helpful as well. So don't be scared to reach out, ask for help when you need it. Get some of those people that I mentioned on your team. So I hope this was helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!